It's been 10 years. 10 years since Shin Megami Tensei 4 first released in North America. It cannot be overstated how important this game is to not only growing the franchise outside of Japan, but how important it is to those who played it. At the time of its release, Atlus was growing in popularity, but it wasn't as well known as it is now. The success of Persona 3, 4, and Catherine had certainly helped put Atlus in the minds of many people, yet few really knew what else they had to offer. But then comes along this brand new Atlus RPG for the Nintendo 3DS. One that looked like it had genuine ambition and a serious budget behind it. A game that promised a console-quality experience all in the palm of your hand. People were starting to know Atlus, and they wanted a big RPG that they could play on the go. While some came away disappointed due to reasonable and unreasonable expectations, it cannot be denied that SMT4 played an important role in not only making SMT more popular, but in helping Atlus as a brand grow. So to celebrate, I want to look back on SMT4, tell my story with it, and reflect on what is likely the best RPG on the Nintendo 3DS. But before we get into that, do not eat the Reds. I'm telling you guys, do not eat the Reds. Don't ask me where they come from, just give them to the demons and go eat literally anything else. But what else is there to eat in a post-apocalyptic Tokyo? Why, it's today's sponsor, Factor. Factor sends you fresh, never frozen meals delivered right to your doorstep. Offering 27 plus options from keto to calorie smart to vegan and vegetarian, Factor's no prep, no mess meals are flexible enough to help anyone survive the demons festering Tokyo. Why risk your life scavenging for takeout when you can save time, stress, and your life by having someone bring it right to your home? Ready in only a few minutes, just stick it in the microwave and eat up. Click the link in the description below or scan the QR code on screen and use code FACTORSE43967 for 50% off your first box. Doing so not only gets you a good deal, but it also supports the channel. Thank you to Factor for sponsoring today's video. Summer 2013. I had just finished my junior year of high school and I wanted a game to play over the summer break, something I had never touched before and was completely unfamiliar with, preferably for the 3DS because I was like obsessed with that thing back in high school. Eventually I came across this game from Atlus. I'd remembered a few months earlier they announced a crossover game between this game and Fire Emblem, so I was curious, especially because my best friend was super into Fire Emblem, so I thought, hey, I'll learn about this other thing, and then once this crossover comes out, we can try and teach each other about it. And we all know how that ended. Anyway, I watched a few reviews, and I found that I really liked a lot of the ideas it was presenting. The multiple endings based on your choices, a lot of which were based on philosophy. Collecting and fusing demons with all these cool designs who'd fight alongside you in battle as opposed to you just telling them what to do. You were in the battlefield with them. I thought that was so cool. A combat system that encouraged you to exploit enemy weaknesses, not just because it would do more damage, but because you would literally gain additional turns. An apocalyptic scenario. And the fact that it was an almost entirely voiced 3DS game, something that to this day still amazes me. Kid Icarus Uprising, the fact that that game is fully voiced is still insane to me. Same with, everything else, Resident Evil Revelations, that game, my god. And then, of course, Shin Megami Tensei 4. In fact, I think almost all of Atlus's SMT and Persona 3DS outputs were completely voiced. I think the only one that wasn't voiced was Etrian Odyssey? I'm not counting the stuff that Atlus simply published, but you know what I mean. Anyway, this game that I was just enamored by was Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor Overclocked, not SMT4. SMT4 wouldn't come out for another month. So, I bought it, I picked it up, put it in, I played it, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. It was ball-breakingly difficult, but that didn't deter me at all. I was still just enamored by it. When I wasn't playing Overclocked, I was looking into what the heck this Shin Megami Tensei even was. It turns out this Devil Survivor was only but one sub-series in this huge franchise. One of these sub-series being Persona, which I had kind of heard of. I'd kind of heard of it before. The name was in my head, but I didn't really know much more about it than that. I actually knew way more about Catherine than anything else. Catherine, back when that came out, that just grabbed my attention for like a solid month. But I never actually played it. I don't know why. I never got around to playing it, but eventually I did. But at the time, I was just like, I think I was watching the cutscenes on YouTube or something. I don't know, but yeah, I knew Catherine, but I didn't really know that was Atlas, and I didn't know that was Shin Megami Tensei. Anyway, it was this big sub-series, or this big franchise. And not only that, but there was a new mainline entry releasing next month. And not just next month, but on my 17th birthday. And it was rated M, which means you gotta be 17 to buy it by yourself. So I was like, oh, cool, this'll be awesome. So, yeah, I looked at SMT4 and I was like, yo, this looks really cool. This looks like a console RPG in terms of like ambition, but it's, you know, it's on the 3DS. It looks to be having a ton of content, has these big 3D environments, and it's, of course, it's an RPG, meaning I will be playing this thing for tens of hours. So I got really, really excited. The big day comes, I wake up and I celebrate my birthday, and then I go to GameStop so I can actually buy SMT4. The store clerk asked me for my card, and I'm like, oh yeah, well, here's my driver's license. He's like, oh, whoa, happy birthday, man. I was like, yeah, I know, yeah. So I go home, I put it in. I absolutely adored it from moment one. I remember just like Naruku was so cool running around that in 3D on a 3DS on a handheld. It was so cool. It reminded me of, you know, a GameCube game or a PS2 game. It was great. The Day 1 edition with the guide helped me a ton. I still have very fond memories of that guide, and I still think that guide is really, really damn cool. But it helped me get, basically, for everything that guide covers, it helped me the whole way through. Also, just the music was so damn catchy. The gameplay was incredibly satisfying. I loved it. I remember a week after my birthday, I went on a trip to Massachusetts, I think it was, with a friend. His like grandfather had passed away, and I went with him and his mom up to where he lived. He lived at like some beach town. I don't really remember where the heck it was, but we were there for like a week, and the whole time I was just playing SMT4. I was obsessed. After about 3 weeks, I got my first ending, which was Law. Then about a few days later, I got Chaos, and even less time than that, I failed to get the neutral ending. I got Law again, so instead of getting Law a second time, I decided I'm going to go for the white ending. And then almost exactly a month after release, I got all 4 endings. To this day, I still hold SMT4 to be not only the best 3DS RPG in my opinion, but probably my favorite 3DS game for both its quality and its incredibly high level of ambition. I'm still amazed by how much this game was able to accomplish on the 3DS of all things. I didn't go back to beat Devil Survivor until like years later. I genuinely don't even remember when that was. I still haven't done anything beyond the one ending. I didn't even do the New Day content that was associated with it. I should really go back and fix that. So now I'm going to start talking about the actual content of the game, so spoilers ahead. If you don't want to get spoiled on a 10-year-old game, you know, thank you for stopping by. Click that link in the description. Go get some Factor. It would seriously help me a lot. You have no idea. Anyway, yeah, let's go spoiler time now. I remember my first time playing through SMT4. It took me like 2 days to get through Naruku. Now he's meowing. This cat won't leave. It took me like 2 days to get through Naruku my first time. And by get through Naruku, I mean get to Minotaur. Minotaur in his own right, I fought for hours just to get past and into Tokyo, only to get stuck all over again with Medusa, who, in retrospect, I think might actually be harder than Minotaur. I think Minotaur is a great example of how unbalanced the game can be, but the fight himself, as long as you can get the best conditions, he's not that difficult, actually. He's more unfair than genuinely difficult. Medusa, on the other hand, I think is genuinely a fair challenge. I remember when I was replaying 4 for the Selling You On a few years ago, I remember I had more trouble with Medusa than Minotaur. Exploring the different boroughs of Tokyo was so much fun. Shinjuku, Shibuya, Ueno, Ginza, Ichigaya, Ikebukuro, like all of them. I feel like I learned the most about Tokyo through playing SMT4 than anything up to that point. I was aware of Shibuya, I was aware of Shinjuku, but I didn't really know what a lot of these other places were, or what their deal even was, like what makes this different from Shibuya. And it was so much fun just getting to explore and getting to know this city, which of course is not going to be one-to-one the same as it is in real life, but a lot of what makes those districts what they are, at least to someone who's never been to Tokyo, seems very accurate to the real places. The story, while not as good as I remembered, is still pretty great in my opinion. The lore and world building is where the game truly shines, seeing the various ways humans have adapted to the apocalypse, the entire deal with the Reds. The decision in the Yamato Perpetual Reactor, where you have to decide whether to turn it on or not, had me sitting there for I don't even know how long, just debating what I truly felt was the right choice. I still adore the entire concept of the white. I think they're really cool, and it feels like an entirely valid option. Yeah, it is nihilism, and I'm not a fan of nihilism in that sense, but I think the way it is employed in the story is really well done, and again, is totally valid given the situation. They're not exactly the deepest characters, but watching Walter and Jonathan slowly turn on each other before becoming Lucifer and Merkaba was, at the time, it was heart-wrenching. They're not complex, but they are likable, and they serve their purpose in the plot perfectly. I just really like these two, and I think it's kind of a shame that it's really just the SMT4 cast that the mainline fandom has, really latched onto. SMT5 just really dropped the ball when it came to its characters, which, I've talked about that already, so I won't go over it again. Speaking of characters people latched onto, Nozomi? The Nozomi side quests were great, and it made me wish there were more side quest chains that had full voice acting, which, eventually was more of a thing in Apocalypse. And I remember really liking those too. While some might not like Nozomi's depiction in Apocalypse, I totally understand why they took a fan favorite and made her a party member. She was just so much fun to hang out with. While Devil Survivor's combat system is based on press turn, SMT4 was the first real taste I got of it, and I loved it then, and I love it now. To this day, I am still not tired of this formula. I do enjoy the occasional spin, like the Magasuhi skills or Smirk, but at its core, press turn is godlike. Running around the fully 3D areas of Tokyo is great, and that's where I think SMT4 really gets to feel like a console game. Looking back on it, some areas are a little too big for their own good, and they end up looking kind of empty and could probably use some props to decorate the place. I remember the Shibuya crossing is a really good example. Of course, there's not going to be, a ton of people there. It's not going to be anybody there, so of course it's going to look empty. But I still feel like there should be something there to, decorate it a bit more. Make the level design a bit more interesting, at least in that main area. As it is, it's just kind of a big box, and if they ever port it or remaster it, I would hope they would add a few little things around just to make it a little less empty. You know what, I got a hot take. A lot of people struggle with the map in SMT4, but I did not find it confusing or hard to navigate at all. I never fully understood that complaint. I don't know, I never had a problem with it, and I didn't really have a problem with it when I was replaying it a few years ago. It's fine, yeah, it could be better marked, and I think the way it is in Apocalypse is totally fine, but I never had an issue with it. I always thought it was fine and totally readable. I don't know, that's a complaint that I never understood. SMT4 is just such a special game to me. It not only is it my favorite 3DS RPG, but it's probably my favorite 3DS game, period. It's so fantastic. It is, while technically Devil Survivor is the one that got me into it, SMT4 is what really sealed my love for this series, and if I hadn't just decided I am going to pick up some random game that I know nothing about, never tried. I'm just gonna pick it up and I'm gonna play it. If I hadn't done that all the way back in 2013, a decade ago, I wouldn't have gotten SMT4, and I would not be where I am today. And a lot of it, like, I mean, again, Devil Survivor, that's what really started it, but a lot of this really started with SMT4. This game just is so special. It means so much to me. And I really hope that someday Atlas will just put it out on modern consoles or on PC or something. Just make it good. Make it available. Just, you know, you don't even need to add any content. Just put it out there, man. Okay? Please. Please. Happy 10th birthday, SMT4. 10th birthday and 1 month, because I've been going through some stuff lately. But yeah, happy birthday. Sorry I was a month late. You mean the world to me, man. I love you. So what's your story with SMT4? What kind of fond memories do you have with it? Let me know down in the comments below, and while you're there, leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell. I do a lot of SMT videos, and I'm going to be doing a lot more in the near future. Just know that there's going to be a much higher upload rate in the coming, I don't know how long. Regardless, stick around. We got some stuff coming up. In fact, we have another anniversary coming up, but it's not as big of a number. But there's another anniversary coming up for a game that was the topic of discussion for a minute, and I feel as though, you know, I should talk about it. But yeah, thank you again to Factor for sponsoring today's video. Check out that link below. It helps out the channel a lot. You guys have a nice day. I'll see you next time.